Hi, I'm Paul Sol, and I'm a creator living right here in Korea. These days, we're interviewing some of the top creators and K-influencers that are living right here in Korea. If you're interested in Korean culture, there's a good chance that you already know this top creator who's famous for his amazing street interviews. I'd like to welcome Sean Pablo!
Hey guys, what's going on? I'm Sean Pablo. Nice to be here.
All right, Sean, so please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your channel.
I make videos for primarily Korean audience, 20s to 30s, this kind of demographic. I explore language learning and culture between the West and the East, usually America and Korea. And I do it through a variety of ways, but I do a lot of street interviews.
So you said your target audience is Korea, but I think you also have like an international audience, am I correct?
Yeah, it's growing. So some of my videos definitely popped off and were a bit popular. So it's funny how when they're so popular in Korea, I guess it's a good video.
Right.
And so the YouTube algorithm starts showing these videos just to people from other countries.
Right.
So that's why it's really important to always have like subtitles.
Right.
So that even if your videos are in Korean, people who are not Korean can watch them.
Right.
So that's I think a really important point.
So when you do, let's say, subtitles, it'll be English and Korean, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other languages that you're
It's a really
thinking
good
of?
question. I've thought about it, especially since I do a bit of work like English education. Right now, I'm just focusing on Korea and the West. But I'm thinking about it in the future. It's a good question.
Let's say you wanted to also add a broader audience, perhaps in a different language. Would you have to make a separate channel also?
I would, because say like you have Japan, and then you have Korea, and then you have India. Me as an American, one of my biggest strengths is introducing American culture, or what do Americans think?
Right.
Of course, you could do other countries or whatever, but if I want to just stick to that, you're gonna have quite a messy group of subscribers if you try to target too many people. So there should definitely be some kind of theme, a common theme.
Right. So instead of broad, it should be more specific.
Oh,
More
absolutely.
targeted.
Yeah.
More targeted,
Right.
the better.
Right, because if this person subscribes for this reason,
Yeah.
and then that person subscribes for that reason, then you upload a video
Right.
and only this one group likes it,
Yeah.
then a lot of your subscriber base is just ignoring your videos.
Right.
Which is really bad, and that's a whole nother problem.
So it's not just the language in this case, also the content, right?
If you're doing street interviews, topic is king.
Okay, so it doesn't necessarily have to be just street interviews. You could also do different kinds of content.
For sure. Like you and I could talk. We could talk about ABC, but say this topic was on the news
Right.
last week and it's hot. What does a Canadian, what does an American think about this topic that is exciting and relevant to Koreans?
Right.
So we have the expertise in that regard. We can share our experience. But you could do that same format with a street interview. So you could ask 10 people from all around the world what they think about this topic.
yeah.
How is coronavirus doing in Seoul, Korea?
Right.
Living as a foreigner here, for example.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's awesome. Is there a special reason that you initially started with street interviews?
Some of my oldest videos were going into the streets of Hongdae, Seoul, and Itaewon and testing foreigners, testing how well they speak Korean. I saw this guy in Japan doing something similar. So I didn't need any special equipment. I just needed a camera and I had the city at my disposal. So that's why I just started with that, and it actually ended up being quite popular.
So you yourself was influenced by another
Yeah.
creator. Oh, okay.
So cool.
Let's say I'm a young creator. I'm interested in doing street interviews. How should I start?
Good question.
Oh my
Good
God, thank you.
question.
Thank you.
Who is your audience? Why do they care? If I'm doing a video about how much do I don't know, foreigners, how much they like Korean food, right? Who do you think that would be interesting to?
Koreans.
Exactly. Koreans. But a lot of people confuse that. They're from the US, they do it all in English, but they do a video that would be interesting to the wrong people. Why is this relevant to me? So that should be the first question
Right.
you answer. The beauty of doing street interview is you don't need a crazy good studio.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to have a good camera, but you can do it with your phone. I did it with my phone for a year or two. You have the city. The city is your studio.
Right.
You have all that free, this amazing B-roll. This amazing backdrop, people walking by, it looks good. Visually, you're set. So A-roll is us talking right now.
Is the main thing, yeah.
This is the main thing. B-roll is the footage that has no sound, that is coming over the screen as we're talking. It's an additional way to spice up the video.
It gives context also,
It
perhaps?
could give context.
Yeah.
Last year I went to Tokyo, then you show a visual of Tokyo.
Right.
Or last year I went to Busan, right? So by adding lots of good B-roll around the city, you're doing the street interviews anyway. So just take shots of the subway, take shots of people walking by, take shots of interesting landmarks while you're talking between the shots.
Also another question, so let's say for street interviews, how do you pick who you're going to interview?
The camera likes good-looking people.
Yeah.
So obviously you're going to want to interview anybody who is visually interesting, has crazy style, has crazy hair.
Right.
Eye-catching is a good way to think about
Right.
it. But beauty is always eye-catching. So like a beautiful woman, a handsome guy, a guy in a cool suit, a guy with crazy piercings. Obviously when you interview them too, you want like people with good answers too.
Right.
So maybe someone looks interesting, but they give really bad answers. Or maybe the opposite's true. Maybe you film 20 people. Maybe you only use 6 because those are interesting.
Right.
Yeah. And you're going to get rejected a lot. Obviously, this goes without saying.
Right. So like how long are we talking about when you do a shoot? How long is your shooting?
6 to 9 minute video. That's the end final product. Probably like 3 hours of shooting.
And you go to like a crowded area?
Yes.
I guess.
Absolutely. Hongdae, Itaewon, Gangnam.
Right.
In that order. If you're going with foreigners, I think Itaewon is really good. But Hongdae is just, it's almost just right up there. Young Westerners are the easiest to interview.
Right. They're probably students and they're excited.
Yeah.
And
And they're not afraid of media. That they don't care about really showing their faces much. Young Koreans are the next hardest.
yeah.
They're more modern, but there's a thing about Korean culture, like people don't like to have their face on camera. They're a little bit scared. And then older Koreans are extremely hard to interview.
Right.
They don't want to really talk to strangers. So definitely easier to interview foreigners in the street. If my audience is Korean, usually Koreans aren't as curious what other Koreans think about a topic.
Oh yeah.
Because
Makes
they're
sense.
Korean, they have friends that are Korean.
Right.
It's more like, so you're Canadian, what do Koreans think about Canadians living in
Right.
Korea? It's like you'd be curious about that. So that's the opposite. So think opposite of that.
Are you more the type to try to go with, let's say, trends? Let's say these days there's like a hot topic in the media. Are you going to try to focus more on that? Or you're more like you think deeply and you make up your own kind of questions?
Okay, so there's a type of content called evergreen content. So evergreen content is content that is always interesting. 5 years from now, it's interesting.
Oh yeah, so it's always good.
However, like coronavirus, things like these, they're very timely.
Right.
But you can really hit it big with those too. Because
Right.
it's like what everybody's talking about.
So you have to mix
So I would do both.
Yeah,
I would do both.
Have you had some of these evergreen videos that initially you put them out and for a month, maybe slow going, but after that they got picked up later?
It's not as common, but it definitely happens, and boy, does it feel good.
Oh yeah.
It's like I knew I wasn't crazy.
I knew that video
I was
was
onto
good.
something.
Right. So even if a video initially doesn't do well, shouldn't stress about it.
It's possible that it could get picked up, and with these new YouTube kind of tools, you have your community tab. You can repost old things, so you can kind of give a refresher to your audience. Like, okay, guys, by the way, 3 months ago I made this. It was a really fun video. Definitely check it out.
Yeah.
I did that one time and it really spiked.
Helped out.
Yeah, that video is doing really well now. I'd say a lot of times if you don't get that initial boom, you should probably think to the future. Get a good start.
Would you say that marketing now, like outside of the YouTube platform, is it part of the equation now? Or
Absolutely. Okay, so this is for beginner YouTubers, right? This whole talk we're doing. Definitely use Reddit, r/whatever topic, your Korean food, Korean culture, r Korea. Facebook has a lot of Facebook groups.
Right.
You can post on there. When you're just beginning, you're kind of in that friends and family stage.
Yeah.
They're the only ones watching your stuff. You want all the exposure you can get.
Reddit is good for, let's say, people speaking English, but Koreans don't use Reddit, so it'll have to be like another platform, I
Yeah,
guess.
Naver Cafe. There's a bunch of Naver Cafes. I would get a Korean friend to help you with that.
Naver cafes have a lot of blogs, so a lot of actually Koreans too. That's how they promote their own stuff.
Yeah.
They'll write blogs about their topic or something like that, and that's how they kind of get some views into it. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. Naver Cafe is really active here.
Right.
So that's kind of the thing to use here.
So we talked about getting the ideas for street interviews and all that stuff, but how do you actually approach people? It's kind of scary, no? What do you do? Do you do anything crazy? Or?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. There's a lot of weirdos. And if you're walking in the street and someone's like, hey, can I talk to you? My first instinct is like, no, get away from me.
Right.
I don't care who you are. So the first thing I do these days is, hey, I'm a YouTuber living in Seoul. That's the first thing I say. Maybe they don't want to be filmed, but like it disarms them.
Right.
That's the first thing you want to do.
Right.
Hey, I'm a YouTuber living in Seoul. We're just asking a few people one question, getting a bunch of different opinions.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I ask you the question real quick? The question is this. They're like, all right, sounds good. Yeah, sounds fun. So cool, we'll just do it right here. I'll just set up and then you'd probably be out of here in 5 minutes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So you shoot by yourself?
That's simple, yeah.
Do you shoot by yourself? You bring a friend sometimes, or you set up, or what's the optimal setup?
Yeah, well, before Corona got bad, so during the Corona, I guess, beginning part of this year, 2020, I haven't been doing as many street interviews for obvious reasons.
Right.
And there's just less foreigners here in general. But when I was in like my super heyday of just doing street interviews all the time, I would usually have a cameraman. But you don't have to. If you get a good tripod, you can do it. But then you're having to talk to the people, say wait, set everything up, then put it back in your bag every time. It's easier to just to have a friend and then buy them lunch or give them like 30 bucks, 40 bucks. And it's good to bounce ideas off someone. Hey, how did that go?
Right.
And they're like, oh, don't ask that question. So
And also,
that's nice.
people move around, so it's hard to keep them in the frame.
Yeah, it's hard to get in the frame, but I don't mind. Like if someone wiggles a little bit,
Yeah.
it makes the video more real and interesting.
So let's say when you're, asking people they could shoot for you, what's the success rate?
I mean, I'm not bragging, but I'm pretty good at it now, and I'm good at cutting the chase.
Yeah.
Probably like 30% success rate.
Oh yeah. No,
Yeah.
that is pretty good.
It's not bad.
Yeah. I've tried street interviews before. Oh yeah, it's tough.
It's easier with
Not
young Westerners. Even Japanese, Chinese people, they're also similar to Koreans.
Right.
They don't like they're having their face on
Right,
camera
right,
as
right,
much.
right.
So I just want to add another part because I think this is important.
Yeah.
So say you're trying to collaborate with other influencers and not street interviews, but you still want to interview them.
Right.
Well, then you're messaging them on Instagram
Yeah.
or whatever, their contact, their email that they have on their page. So if you want to do that, a big tip I have is lead with how does it benefit them? So this is business 101. Okay.
Yeah.
You want to collaborate with this guy over here. Okay, why? He's busy. People are busy. Why would they help you? Lead with, okay, hey, I'm doing this thing. I can promote your stuff. I'll pay you this much money.
Right.
I'll help you with ABC, XYZ.
Yeah.
Then their interests are taken care of. This is
Right.
what I want. It's this easy. Just make it really clear. Whenever I'm working with businesses too, and they want to like collaborate with me,
Yeah.
it's the first thing I checked. How quick do they get to the point? Okay, how much do you want to pay me? What do you want me to do? What's the
Right.
time? So this is my tip for when you're working with influencers. If they can't do it, I understand.
Yeah.
Always keep the possibility for a future collab.
Yeah. Don't burn bridges.
Do not burn bridges. It's a dangerous thing to do.
Yeah.
It's a dangerous thing.
You mentioned something about, let's say if you message an influencer, let's say if you're a small channel, you're just starting.
Yeah.
Sounds like you might have to pay them, right? For them, there's no benefit necessarily to help you out in a small channel, right? That's why you mentioned like
So if you're a small influencer and you're messaging a bigger person,
exactly. What do you do? How do you do that in that case?
that's tough.
Right.
Because big influencers get all types of messages.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not that they hate the small influencer. It's just like, well, if I help you, I got to help all these people. Why would I pick you?
Right.
Plus, I got plenty of stuff to do.
Yeah.
I honestly would not even message big influencers if you're
Okay.
small, because why would you? I almost want to question your motivation for doing that. It's like, do you want just the easy way out?
Yeah,
Do you want
yeah.
a quick 1,000
Like
subscribers?
the quick success or something.
Because let me tell you, very rarely is that going to happen.
Right.
Unless you have a library of good content for when people visit your channel and they're like, oh, wow, this guy has cool stuff. This girl has cool stuff. Wow, I got to subscribe to them. You're not going to get that. Maybe might have been old YouTube.
Right,
New
right,
YouTube.
New
there's
YouTube, that's
no
right.
shortage of content.
And also the thing is that like these big influencers, they won't necessarily have the same audience you have. So even
Exactly.
if they're on your channel,
Right.
their audience is not going to necessarily translate to yours. So
Exactly.
okay. Let's say I'm starting out fresh. What should I do for the content wise? Should I stick with more, maybe try to get the trendy topics, or maybe the more evergreen stuff you were talking about earlier? What do you think?
I'd go 50-50. What you need when you're first starting, you need data. What am I good at? What do I do that does well? Whenever I do evergreen, it doesn't do too well. Whenever I do trendy stuff, it does really well.
Yeah.
So I'm doing something right.
Right.
So let's zone in on what's going well. Also, I said this before, but it's so important. Who is your audience? Are you from Brazil and you're living in Korea? And you have your Brazilian friends and family watching, then what do Brazilian people care about?
Right.
What do Koreans think about
Brazilian food
culture,
or
Brazilian
Brazilian
food? Okay,
food, snacks.
great. That should be your question. Who is the target and why do they care? And in terms of trendy, not trendy, just you need data. Do more experiments.
Right. Because as you do videos, you'll find out what you're good at
Right.
and what people are responding well to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
definitely going to happen. You're going to start out and you're going to have this idea, and that goal is going to change as you go along.
Right.
It's going to change, such as life, right?
These days, YouTube is super competitive, and there's other big creators, let's say like Asian Boss, and also do a lot of street interviews. Do you have any advice for anyone starting out? What should they do? They have to perhaps find their voice or something, or
Yeah. Topic is the king. So pick good topics Number one. Number two, you're interviewing people, and the interviewees are important, but so are you. You're not just a walking microphone. You got a personality too, right?
Right.
So you make sure you wear good stuff. Take a shower that day. Asian boss, they're really all about trendy stuff, but they do it really well.
What
They
I
do it well.
realized too is if we're talking about, let's say, Asian boss, is then let's say the focus is the people responding. You don't even see the person interviewing, so their personality is kind of like out of the equation.
Yeah.
The content is really different, but you're part of the content. Your personality is part of the content.
Yeah.
So that's like another distinction from like how your channel functions, right?
Yeah, well, again, my channel's name is Sean Pablo.
If you're not there, it's gonna be a bit weird.
It'd be hard to like sell my channel.
I think the difference too is for like a creator, if you have like a strong personality, that will create a type of loyalty, right?
Yeah.
And then people will come back for you, not necessarily just for the street interviews or the whatever. It's gonna come back for you. So that's really important.
Absolutely.
Aside from street interviews, you also do other types of content, right? Can you talk about it?
I still keep my audience the same, and I keep my themes the same.
Yeah.
So language learning and cultural differences.
Right.
But instead of a street interview, I'll have like a one-on-one interview, or just my personal thoughts, or me interviewing certain types of people. Like I went to a school of young Korean kids who spoke English really well. There's a few viral videos there. But people do see me and they kind of know me as a street interview guy. The principles are still similar though. It's like, why do they care? What's the topic?
You're still interviewing people.
Yeah.
Just in a different setting.
Yeah, I do have videos that are not interviews. Like I went to Koreatown and I spoke and shocked Koreans.
Like in LA?
Yeah, in LA and in Philadelphia.
Oh, wow.
Those videos have quite a lot of views as well. I mean, you can explore new content, but if you're going to have a completely new audience, don't do it on the same channel that you're doing your regular stuff where you already hooked your guys. But if you want to do this kind of like experimentation, do it in the beginning when you have like 10 subscribers.
Right.
Don't do it when you have 100,000 subscribers.
Yeah, because then you're locked in the content.
Because then, it's really hard to move that around.
Let's say I'm a new creator. I want to do a street interview. Let me see if I got it. So I don't need expensive equipment.
Yeah.
I could do it with my phone. I could just go outside, bring a buddy.
Yeah.
And then when I accost people, I'm very clear and I explain, hey, I'm a YouTuber. I'm doing a video about street interviews. Can I take a few minutes of your time? And then 30% success rate.
Well, I can't guarantee the success
Easy.
rate, but that's
30% success rate. That's what Sean guarantees.
yeah, that's a good summary of what I said, though. That's pretty good.
So you just got to do it, right?
Just got to do it, yeah.
And the first video, is it going to be perfect?
Your first video is going to be terrible. It's going to be the worst. Get over that.
Yeah.
Start making some bad videos because a year from now, your videos are going to be much better.
Sean, thank you so much. That was amazing.
Yeah,
I
it was
learned
fun.
so much about street interviews, so many things I didn't know. And I think everybody here that's watching learned a lot of stuff. So thank you so much. And do you have a final word of encouragement for anybody that wants to be a K-influencer, perhaps?
Take action and get data and look at the results and then act accordingly.
All right. Thanks for watching. Follow
Follow
me.
me.